Welcome once more to God's Nobody. I'm Aunties T-Bone here on YouTube. It's a pleasure to see you. Wanted to go ahead and teach a message called God Did It Himself. It comes from Isaiah chapter 59, verses 16 through 17. And it reads, "And he saw that there was no man, and wondered that there was no intercessor. Therefore his arm brought salvation unto him, and his righteousness it sustained him. For he put on righteousness as a breastplate, and a helmet of salvation upon his head, and he put on the garments of vengeance for clothing, and was clad with zeal as a cloak." You know, I believe these verses clearly teach that God was amazed in one sense that there wasn't a human being good enough to intervene for himself or herself to save themselves. Now, of course, God made all of us, so he knew this in one sense, but he wondered that there was no intercessor in the sense of us. This is written more for us to wonder about, as in God putting himself in our perspective. And that's ultimately what he did when he was in Christ reconciling himself unto the world, is that he was putting himself into our perspective and saving us. The Bible, if it teaches anything in the New Testament, it is that Christ in himself God in Christ was reconciling the world unto himself. And the proclamation of the gospel message is, "Be ye reconciled unto God." He made him who knew no sin to be sin, so that ye and me might become the righteousness of God. That's essentially the Christian message. And this bendable neck just wants to always bend down. Sorry about that. But I mean, that is essentially the message. Be ye reconciled to God. It's the same thing that Jesus said to Paul. "Why do you kick against the pricks? Why do you persecute me?" And Paul said, "Who is it that I persecute? It is I, Jesus, whom you are persecuting." This is a call to salvation. Submit yourself to the righteousness credited by faith from God in Christ Jesus. Don't oppose yourself anymore, because that's essentially what we do when we oppose the call that God the Father has on our lives to get saved. We oppose ourselves. We essentially put ourselves into opposition of how everything is supposed to be here in his creation. So don't oppose yourselves anymore. Submit to the righteousness credited by faith. You're like, submit? Yes, submit. Learn to think like God. Learn to feel like God. Learn how to act like God. Because ultimately it's the best for us anyway. In fact, he was so for us right here. Therefore his arm brought salvation unto him, and his righteousness it sustained him. So the Father was satisfied with the righteousness of his Son, and Jesus sought to reconcile you and me on that cross. So submit, please, to the righteousness credited by faith. Oh, my human fallibility shows up. Submit to the righteousness credited by faith from God in Christ Jesus. Until next time, this has been Aunties T-Bone here on God's Nobody. Goodbye now. I got to fix this flexible neck on this circle light. Goodbye now.